History Inside a Nutshell, the show where we sail into our port of call discussing maritime history. This video has been requested, but it has been dedicated to 3 good friends of mine. They are Sabrina and her 2 boys, Ben and Zack. Sabrina and the boys have travelled on this ferry before, but no one has ever covered a video on this. And saying that I would do it after they requested it, I have been so pleased to share this video with them as well as you. So Sabrina, Ben and Zack, thank you so much for the suggestion and for the pictures as well. You will see them in the video later on. But until then, I will leave you to watch this video, but in the capable hands of my good friend Hanna, who has come to narrate this video. Hanna, thank you so much for all your contribution as well. And until then, let's dive in to this amazing ferry.
MV Chelan, the ferry of the islands. In the early 20th century, the San Juan Islands, known for the Pacific Northwest landscapes and wildlife, including the Orca whales, became a popular island to visit in Washington. However, the distance to get there was difficult. No one can travel by car or any form of public transport, unless a person catches a ferry. The journey to the islands would take as long as 2 hours, but the ferries have to make a few stops before reaching them. Tourism to the islands were under the management of companies and operators since 1922, but in 1951 the Washington State Ferries, a government agency, took control of the routes to the islands. The agency still runs a series of ferries, but none is more fascinating than the MV Chelan, the only ferry to meet with the requirements of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. The MV Chelan is an Issaquah-class ferry, which is a small ship, but she is the mother of the class of ships, and she has 2 sister ferries, named the MV Samish and the MV Yakima. During her time sailing to the islands, she had made international trips to Lopez Island, Orca Islands, and Vancouver Island, Canada. The name Chelan comes from the Chelan language, and in English, it translates to deep water. This is about the Chelan Indian tribe who lived along Lake Chelan. On board, the vessel has 1 lift, or elevator, a galley, and 2 vending machines. With 2 engines, she would travel at 16 knots under diesel fuel. She is the only Washington State Ferries vessel to make international crossings to Sydney, British Columbia. She would make the Anacortes, San Juan Islands, Sydney route between the spring and autumn, or fall. But in the winter, she would only make crossings between the Anacortes, the San Juan Islands. However, if the water becomes rough between the fall and winter seasons, trips may be cancelled. But what is her full story? MV Chelan was constructed in 1981. It was launched and quickly put into service the same year. It's supposed to travel on the Edmond-Kingston route in Washington. However, in the early 1990s, the vessel's capacity couldn't handle the number of passengers she would have on board. At the time, her capacity could only hold 1,200 passengers. With that decision made, she was kept in reserve as a replacement ferry. She did replace another ferry that was having a refit with a second vehicle deck. Her service had brought down cancellations, but on the downside, she would cause service disruptions, as she could only carry fewer vehicles. MV Chelan can hold a maximum number of 124 vehicles. In 2004, the MV Chelan had her interior updated, and she was refitted with a second vehicle deck and outer bulkheads. A year later, the vessel became subject to following the new guidelines for international travel from the United States Coast Guard. The Coast Guard decided to change the guidelines, which meant that the MV Chelan had to be refitted with safety equipment. However, a price had to be paid when her passenger capacity was decreased from 1,200 to 1,090 for international trips. In November 2019, MV Chelan broke down and had to be abandoned for 4 weeks. During the coronavirus pandemic in March 2020, services to Sydney were suspended due to the international travel restrictions imposed by Canada and the United States. The restrictions were lifted in 2021, but because of service disruptions and the shortage of staff and crew, the agency announced that there will be no ferry services on the Sydney route until the year 2030. It is unclear what the future will be for the MV Chelan, but until then, we'll have to wait and see.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe for future videos. Until next time, this has been History Inside a Nutshell, departing from the docks. Thank you so much for all of your support and enjoy the rest of your voyage.